Welcome to this of the Board of Directors of the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District. I am Margaret McNiven, President of the Board of Directors. This meeting is now called to order. It is 7:08 p.m. This meeting is being held in person at the district's administrative office and by teleconference. Members of the public can attend and participate in the meeting in person or via Zoom. Instructions for submitting public comments are available on the meeting agenda. May we have roll call, please?
Director Gleason.
Here.
Director Christine Tucker.
Here.
Director Riffle.
Here.
Director McNiven.
Here.
Director Holman.
Here.
Director Kishimoto.
Here.
Director Sear.
Here.
Thank you.
We'll start with a report from closed out session. The board met in closed session at 5 o'clock this evening and there is nothing to report. And then we'll move on to oral communications for items not on the agenda. Do we have any?
We do not have any.
No,
Thank you.
great. Okay, adoption of the agenda. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
We can take-
May I confirm who second? Director Gleason.
Yes.
Director Christine Tucker. Yes. Director Riffle.
Yes.
President McNiven.
Yes.
Director Holman. Yes. Director Kishimoto. Director Sear.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 7-0.
Great. Moving right along to the consent calendar, which is agenda items 1 through 4. Does any member of the board wish to have any item pulled from the consent calendar? Seeing none. Any questions on the consent calendar? No? Is there public comment?
We do not have any. Thank
Okay,
you.
great.
I move approval of the consent calendar. A second.
Roll call.
Director Gleason.
Yes.
Director Christine Tucker. Yes. Director Riffle.
Yes.
President McNiven.
Yes.
Director Holman. Director Kishimoto. And Director Sear.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, board business item 5, which is the second reading and adoption of revised ordinance for use of Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District lands. Good evening.
Good evening. Brad Pennington, Area Superintendent of the Foothills area. This is the second reading, so there have been no changes since 2 weeks ago. And would you like to go over the recommendations from the general manager again, or are we, any questions?
Any questions? No? Is there any public comment?
We do not have any. Thank you.
Anybody have anything to say on this matter? Just try not to get a fine.
Thank you for your work on this, Brett.
Oh, thank you, guys. Trying to be the fastest board business in the history of the district.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'll move approval of item 5, the general manager's recommendation.
Cool.
A second.
Can take a vote.
Director Gleason.
Yes.
Director Christine Tucker.
Yes.
Director Riffle.
Yes.
President McNiven.
Yes.
Director Holman. Director Kishimoto. Director Sear.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Okay, take a breath. We're on to the next one. Board business item 6, which is award of contract to Raycom Corporation to replace an existing very high frequency analog conventional system with a P25 digital conventional system for the radio system assessment and upgrade project.
Hello. Hi. Hi, my name is Deborah Bazar. I'm a management analyst too in the Visitor Services Department, and I am here to talk about the district's radio upgrade project and awarding a contract to Raycom Corporation in support of the project. So the first thing I'll do is start with the general manager's recommendations, and I'm going to take a big breath, try and get all this out. First is award a contract to Raycom Corporation to provide equipment, services, installation, and testing for the radio system upgrade project for a not to exceed base amount of $1,893,479. Number 2, authorize a 5% contingency in the amount of $94,674 to cover unforeseen issues related to the upgrade project for a total contract amount not to exceed $1,988,153. And third, authorize the general manager to execute a support agreement with Raytheon for firmware, software, and technical support to the new radio system once it's completed, with annual operating costs totaling $39,481 per year for years 2 through 5, and $43,809 per year for years 6 through 10, for a total contract amount not to exceed $376,969. So I'm going to tell you a bit about the current radio system and the radio upgrade project. I'll briefly discuss the request for proposal and the vendor selection process. I'll tell you a bit about the Raycom Corporation. I'll clarify some roles for the new system regarding build, support, and maintenance. I'll present the project budget, and then we'll revisit the general manager's recommendations. So the district actually has 2 radio systems. The first radio system is the patrol system. This is one channel, channel 1, and it's heard across the entire district from one end to the other. It's called simulcast because the signals are being simultaneously broadcast across all the towers in the district. This channel is used by rangers to communicate with one another as well as for emergency communications. Mountain View Police Department is our emergency dispatches provider, and they are always listening on this channel in case they need to dispatch any help to our rangers out in the field. The second system is the administrative or maintenance system. I'm going to call it admin tonight. This actually consists of 5 channels, channel 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And each of these channels are geographically limited in terms of their coverage, and they're also linked to specific towers in our system. And both of these systems are maintained and repaired by Santa Clara County. You just approved an amendment to their maintenance contract just a couple minutes ago on the consent calendar. Here's a map of the district's radio systems. There are 7 towers. And I'd mentioned that let me get my pointer here, or not. So you'll notice in the core of the district, the Black Mountain Tower is associated with channel 2. That means that tower is, thank you. So here it is at the center of the district. So this tower transmits channel 2, and the coverage is limited to a radius around the tower. Same goes for, you can see channel 3 is down down here in Sierra Azul, channel 4 up here, channel 5 over here at Coyote Peak, and channel 6 up at Heiss. Because the admin system is limited in its coverage, one person on one end of the district is not going to be able to talk to somebody on the other end of the district because of those coverage limitations. The current system was installed in 2011, and all radio systems typically have a life of 10 to 15 years. So it's time. Our equipment is reaching end of life, and the manufacturers are no longer fabricating replacement parts, and they're not offering technical support. Along with upgrading the radio project with new equipment, we wanted to address some coverage issues in existing district land as well as look towards future acquisitions, specifically the coast. Get that out of there. So in November of 2020, the board approved the following improvements. We're going to upgrade both systems from analog to digital. The current system is analog. It means it uses electromagnetic waves to carry information, just like your AM/FM radios. The new system is digital. It uses numbers to carry information, like your cell phone. So it's really like upgrading your AM/FM Sony Walkman to streaming music on your iPhone. We're also going to replace both systems with new and compatible and common equipment in all of the shelters, the towers, and the hubs. And we're going to upgrade the admin channel to simulcast, which means that just like the patrol channel, somebody on that channel, it'll be a single channel and you can hear somebody across the district and communicate with them. We also need to install a data link between one of our towers and the communications hub at Santa Clara County that we use. To address the coverage improvements, we're going to replace the Skeggs Tower with Allen Peak. We're going to upgrade the Redwood Tower from receive only to transmit and receive. We're going to swap out Tomita for McQueen, and we're going to establish a new site at Pigeon Point. Currently, there's no shelter space at Pigeon Point. The facility is owned and managed by San Mateo County. And we've had numerous discussions with them over the years to try to resolve this issue. It's still an ongoing challenge for this project, but we'll continue to push forward.
Excuse me.
Mhm.
Is it okay to ask questions? You're covering a lot of material, and I'm afraid if I try to wait to the end, I'm going to forget. So is it all right to ask a question?
Sure.
Could you go back to the 2 slides before? Yeah. You used the term shelter, and I had a question about, see that replace both systems with new and common equipment in shelters, towers, and hubs. What, I don't know what that means.
So a radio site consists of essentially 2 buildings. There's the big tall tower that
Okay.
you put the antennas on,
Right.
and then there's a little shelter that houses all of the electrical equipment
okay.
and powers it.
I see.
Yes, and a hub is going to be like a communications hub like we have at Santa Clara County. There's the kind of a hub sort of like thing with the police station and the dispatch. So
Okay.
yeah, a couple of hubs, and then the towers, the radio sites consist of a tower and a shelter.
Okay, good. And then the next slide. Thank you for showing us the map of all the towers. At one time, I know that we had quite a few areas that were not covered. And I was just wondering, are we pretty well covered now? I mean, or do we still have some significant areas that are?
The way that these systems work, it's practically impossible for them to get into really deep ravines and valleys and redwood groves and things like that. So there's going to be some limitations that we just cannot address, and there's going to be some remote areas that simply don't have tower coverage to even take care of it. But it should be there should be some significant improvements, but there's still going to be gaps. There always will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because the reason I asked that is when I've gone out riding with our rangers and have talked with them, just listening to a day in their life of when I don't have radio contact, I'm kind of on my own. And so to me, that was wow, we need to make sure we have as much coverage as possible. So I guess my question is, given these towers and what you have set up here, is this enough? Or I mean, should we be working harder to get better coverage? Or because of your recommendation, you're saying, you know what, this is good enough for now? Does that make sense?
It's the best that's possible at this point, unless we want to start constructing our own radio towers and sites too.
see.
Yeah, we went through an extensive system assessment with an engineer who did a bunch of modeling of all of the different towers in the area.
Okay.
And he determined from those models which ones would be of the most benefit to us.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
I can, in my backup slides, I can show you what some of those coverage maps, the improvement maps look like, if
Yeah.
you'd like. Would you like to see it now or at the end of the presentation?
Whatever works for you. I mean, I'm at some point.
Yeah, I also wanted, Matt brought up a good point. So to address some of the gaps that in radio coverage, the district has acquired satellite phones to help with some of those coverage issues. These coverage issues are not just district coverage issues, especially out on the coast. San Mateo Sheriff's Office, San Mateo Parks, CHP, they all have coverage issues, and they use satellite phones to compensate for that. And we're going to do the same.
Okay, all right. The reason I bring that up is especially as you think about Cloverdale and where we're expanding, and I see Pigeon Point. So I guess that's going to, I hope that's going to provide some coverage out there, but I just don't want to penny wise, pound foolish, as we expand to the coast, should we be more aggressive in picking up some more of these tower sites?
We're as aggressive as we can be. We are shooting for every tower that is going to maximize the system. Again, there's some challenges with Pigeon Point because there's no shelter space there. So we'll have to figure that out. We've looked at, I don't know, half a dozen other tower sites in that area, and for various reasons, they're just not sufficient for our needs.
Mm.
We need a very, very robust system because these are emergency communications. They can't go down.
Mm.
So we need redundancies and, things like that in the tower sites.
Mhm. Okay, all right.
Do you want us, I can show you the coverage maps.
Director Gleason, can we just stop you for a minute?
Yes,
Is that okay?
sure.
All right, Director Gleason has a question.
Yeah, could you show the first map that you showed? So it looks like pies is shown in different places on these two maps. Is that true?
This map was created by GIS and this map was created by me. So it's possible that I transposed or I put in the wrong GPS coordinates. Oops.
Is it near Purisma?
Yes.
That's where it looks
Yeah.
like.
So that was my mistake. Good catch.
Oh,
Wow.
sorry.
You're paying attention.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So
Direct, sorry.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if this is the right time to ask, but so interoperability, is that an issue at all? Or you mentioned that operators could listen in on that one channel. Is that right? Or in talking with, you could talk with sheriffs and with other outside systems.
Well, our current radio system and the future radio system will be compatible with all of the agencies that we already currently talk with, and the mutual aid channels, CAL FIRE. I don't know, Matt, how many, there's 150 different channels on the radio system, and most of those are other agencies and mutual aid, and those will all be accessible on the new system. It'll operate just like the old system.
Right. Okay, sounds good.
I just have one curious. You said channel 1 is heard by everybody.
Yes. So
But-
what I was describing is it's everybody with a radio that's programmed to
Mhm.
that channel. What I was trying to describe is that one person at one end of the district can hear you at the other end of the district. That is, everyone on that channel can hear everybody, no matter where they are, as opposed to the admin channel where that's limited in terms of coverage. So
Yeah.
if somebody's at one end of the district on one of those maintenance channels, they're not going to be able to talk with somebody at the other end of the district.
So they have different phones, and I mean, was there a reason for that?
There hasn't been a big priority to
Oh.
simulcast that system until now. So that's
Simulcast,
the way it was built. And the channel 1 used to be like that too, which was geographically limited, and you could imagine how hectic that would be if you're in an emergency situation. So it was really important in 2011 or whatever to upgrade the patrol channel to simulcast so that everybody can hear everything. And it wasn't a priority that at the time for the admin channel.
Gotcha. Yes, Director Kishimoto.
Just about the quality of the service. So like, is there any problems at all in hearing, or can you supplement it with typing and as well, addresses and things like that?
So no, there's nothing like that. I mean, in the new system, the radios will communicate to Mountain View like information about who's calling. But in terms of the performance, so digital typically works best in open environments like urban environments, and it wasn't really a technology that we could have implemented in, say, in the last 10 years or so, because the quality just wasn't there in terms of digital. And because we have so many ravines and trees and valleys, it just would not have worked for us. We're going digital now because the technology is to a point where there should not be any issues. Typically it's I won't get into those details. We don't think that there is going to be an issue with it. And we also are required to upgrade to digital because the Department of Justice requires encryption on radio transmissions that contain not publicly, identifiable information. And in order to encrypt those communications from public listening in, we have to go digital. There should be one of the things about the digital that people would notice is that there's a reduction in the hissing and squelching. So it would be, you wouldn't hear all the static. It would just be on or off.
Well, that's a big improvement, but yeah, I was just asking how hard it is, like if you're conveying an address, you can't send over a digital, you can't type over the address to confirm what you're saying verbally?
The radios don't have a texting function like that.
They don't. I don't know why, but okay.
Yeah.
So one last quick question. if I might.
Yes.
To go back to the questions about Pigeon Point. So I think what I'm understanding is that the sat phones work for coast-wide other than within the canyons and things, or there's still going to be some challenges.
The sat phones are primarily to support the districts who are out on the coast. Once Pigeon Point gets stood up, the coverage should be very good in that area. Until then, we're using the satellite phones to compensate. And we may find that after the new system is stood up, we hold on to those satellite phones and have them on our hip when we need them for other reasons.
And so are we in line for Pigeon Point, or they're working?
They don't have enough space in their shelter.
Right.
There's no space for any equipment in their shelter. They don't have plans to upgrade their shelter I need to touch base with them. I haven't talked to them for a few months, but to see where their schedule is on. They didn't have plans to upgrade that shelter or expand it. It's not a priority for them right now, where their priority has been Pescadero. So we've been trying to talk with them and incentivize them to reprioritize Pigeon Point higher up. We've offered to expand the shelter for them. We've offered to buy them generators. We're starting to even look at constructing our own shelter and tower on Cloverdale land, which would be very expensive, but may be the only option. So again, this is a challenge in the project, and we're just trying to find a solution.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Where was I? Slide 8. Okay, so I'll show you guys the coverage improvements at the end. Let me just get through the flow of this. So we released an RFP in January of 2024, and we received 3 proposals. One from Raycom Corporation, one from Golden State Communications, and one from JBC Kenwood. These costs are for the services and infrastructure for the towers, the hubs, and the shelters only. We're going to procure the handheld radios and the vehicle radios and the base stations separately. So you should see something like about that coming to you here in a few months. The review team consisted of myself, our engineering consultant who's been on the project with me since the beginnings, and 2 senior staff from Santa Clara Communications Department. We all reviewed the proposals and unanimously decided that Raycom Corporation was deemed the most qualified and best suited for the project at a fair and reasonable price. So Raycom is a communications engineering company that was founded in 1972. They're part of Eastern Communications that has over 200 full-time workers. They specialize in engineering, design, build, and technical support for radio systems, and they have solid experience with similar systems for public safety agencies around the country. So here's some role definition for you, because I know there's a lot of players in here. Raycom will design, build, and install the new radio system, while Santa Clara County Communications will provide oversight of that design, build, and install. Once the project's complete, Raycom will provide online software, firmware, and technical support through a 10-year service agreement. And Santa Clara County will continue to maintain and repair the physical system. So when the tower goes down at midnight, it's Santa Clara County hopping in the car, driving up the hill to our rescue. We love them. They do a fabulous job for us. So here we are at the project budget. The original budget was $2,606,437. To date, we've spent $170,362. If we execute the Raycom contract, along with the contingency, there'll be a remaining $447,922 on the project budget. So here we are back to the general manager's recommendations. I'll paraphrase, award a contract to Raycom to provide equipment and services, installation and testing for a not to exceed base amount of $1,893,479. Authorize a 5% contingency in the amount of $94,674 to bring the total contract amount not to exceed $1,988,153. And finally, authorize the general manager to execute a support agreement with annual operating costs totaling $39,481 for years 2 through 5 and $43,809 per year for years 6 through 10. Total amount not to exceed $376,969. That was my last slide, but I will jump into the coverage improvements for you guys.
Before you do,
Yes.
could I ask you to go back a couple of slides to where you talk about what's covered where, like who's doing what, and what's not covered in this particular set of recommendations? Let's see.
So you're talking about this
wait,
slide?
Wait, no, there, that one. Then I think there was one in which you talked about what's not included in this, and it was some of the handheld phones. Yeah, the handhelds and all that kind of.
Oh, the procurement. Yeah. So,
Right.
so tonight we're just awarding the contract for the services and the infrastructure, and we'll award the subscriber, the handheld vehicles in a separate
And
contract.
so that $442,000 that's left is enough to cover that.
It depends on what model we choose
Okay. Oh, really?
and what manufacturer. We currently have a focus group of about 10 people who are evaluating all of the subscriber radios, and we're working towards getting some samples and testing and things like that to make a decision. And it's very possible I will come back here with asking you for more money for the subscribers.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Do you have to buy a license for each piece of equipment, or is it all covered under one?
Well, we have to get FCC licenses for all the towers. We've already acquired all of those, the licensing for those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there some story behind the attempts to reach Motorola?
Well, in a nutshell, first off, the board approved all of those items, but actually the project at that time was deferred because of COVID. So it was deferred until FY 2022. And so at that time, we are very much integrated with Santa Clara County's system. We piggyback off their system, and their system is Motorola. We share a lot of common equipment. They give us space. We give them space. It's a very nice arrangement. And they're trained in Motorola. That's what they do. That's what our current system is as well. So when we first started the project, we wanted to model it after what had happened in 2011, which was that Santa Clara County would take care of all of the design and building and managing of the systems, and that Motorola would be the supplier of the equipment. So we wanted to pursue a sole source arrangement with Motorola because our systems are so integrated with the counties, and because that's what the county is really experts in. So we went to Motorola, gave them a proposal of what we wanted. And they came back with something that was much more complicated than it needed to be. One of the things that we really want in systems like this is the simplest system that works, fewer points of failure. And the system that they provided to us in the proposal was very, very expensive and very, very complicated. And it gave the county and my engineering consultant pause and about this. So we went back to them, had a series of meetings and discussions to talk about what needed to change and how that there was a certain piece of equipment that they insisted on having in there that was not additive. And so they also took about 8 or 9 months to respond to our initial proposal. It took a very long time. So we went back to them, explained to them what our issues were, had a couple of follow-up meetings, thought we had found a solution. And then, so then when Motorola updated that proposal to us, we found that they had not removed that big piece of equipment that was not necessary and very expensive, like we had asked them to remove it. And they were also not going to stand behind their coverage. So we decided that we were going to say, and it was very, their proposal was beyond the project budget at that point. So what we decided to do was take a chance and go out for bid and go out for RFP. And we did. And I think we got, an elegant and simple solution. I'm very happy with it.
And can I just say, I want to commend Deborah because this has been an incredibly challenging project. She came across so many obstacles, so many issues. I could see her tearing her hair apart, trying to get this through to the finish line. We finally got there, but it was an incredible journey and very difficult to work with Motorola, very time consuming. And I'm very thankful that she found a creative solution to make it work.
Thank you, Anna.
Yay.
All right. How about,
Sorry, before,
yeah.
one more pesky board member here. I'm not quite sure how to ask this question because I'm not technical from this point of view, but I just want to make sure that our rangers and our field staff just have, the best equipment especially when it comes to communication, because I know they depend on it and we depend on them for that. And one way I kind of think about it is if you were to rate the system that you're proposing here on kind of a 1 to 10 scale, with 10 being leading edge, can't get any better, but really expensive, to 1 being, something that's way obsolete. What you're proposing here is going to get us where on that?
I'm not sure I would put a number scale on this. We are unique. So just because something is more expensive does not mean it's better. In fact, Raycom wasn't chosen because they were the lowest cost. They were the lowest cost because they proposed the simplest and best solution to a problem. And that's all we needed. We didn't need all that other bells and whistles that the other proposers provided. And the best system is going to depend upon the conditions in which you're trying to operate. So we have a very challenging area to cover. We share this challenge with other open space and parks agencies across the country. It is very, very difficult, sometimes impossible, to reach deep into those cracks. And no matter how much money you throw at that, it's not going to solve the problem. We do have, I believe, and my engineering consultant and the county also have all been behind the design of this new system and the specifications. And I feel confident that we have the best possible system that we can have given the conditions and the environment in which we need to operate.
Okay, good. I think you answered my question, but I am all for saving money, but I don't want to save money to risk, having a viable system. So
Yes.
Sounds like we've somehow.
Special guest.
Yeah.
Matt Anderson, Chief Ranger. I might add, we felt the same way you did when we realized what our constraints were on the coast. And we had an incident out at Wilbur's Watch, and the ranger had to drive a quarter mile away to have communications. So we looked into what was San Mateo County doing, the sheriff's office, what is CHP doing? And they have sat phones. They're not 100% either, but they're the best we can get right now to fill some of those gaps. And then we have protocols about how to operate in those limited service areas and make sure people know when you're going into those darker areas and how to communicate out of them and all that. It's going to be a little tricky on the coast for a little while.
Okay.
But we appreciate that thought, and we feel the same way about providing them with whatever we can. So the sat phones came up, we said, buy them.
Great.
We tested them first, but so
Right.
it's what we're operating within. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Thank you,
Mhm.
Matt. Yeah.
I'll also add that CHP, the sheriff's office out on the coast, they all want space in Pigeon Point and they all have been denied.
Mm.
So there's kind of a coalition. I did attend, there's a coastal resiliency infrastructure, whatever, group headed up by, and headed up in the county. And they had everybody come together and talk about some of the issues, the infrastructure issues that we have on the coast. And the lack of radio infrastructure was one of the items that was discussed. And I, on behalf of the district, submitted a project, trying to get support in other agencies involved in trying to come together and address the radio issues on the coast. So we're working on that.
Deborah, just one very quick follow-up. This is, we've, I think, been talking a lot about rangers, and which is important, but what about our non-ranger field staff? Do they use the same systems? Is that?
They'll use the admin system, that channel 2.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Okay, great. Thanks.
So if you want to look at your screens, I'll just quickly show you. These are the coverage improvement maps. So the blue is what is currently covered, or what's covered by the district now, what we have now. And the red is an addition to the coverage. So when we add that tower, Allen Peak Tower, the places in red are being added to our coverage area. So you can see it's pretty extensive. All the red are the improvements. This is the Redwood Tower. I mentioned this one was receive only. If we add a transmit function to it, it boosts its signal. And so you can see in red what's going to be added to the coverage. Yeah. This is the McQueen Ridge tower coverage map. So you can see that there's still some significant holes in there. That's just the way it goes, until we start building more towers or whatever. But you can see that, especially on the right side of the image, we're filling in quite a bit of those gaps with red. And here's Pigeon Point. So you can see, all the red is where there is not signal. So you can see now that once we add Pigeon Point, how important that's going to be for coastal coverage. Those are all the coverage maps I have for you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Just- Just curious, I think you mentioned in the board report that there were many references that they gave, and you followed up with 3 public safety ones. Do you remember which?
I have those in my notes. Let me get there. Sorry. St. Croix County, Wisconsin. I didn't write down the acronym. UMRDD. It's like a regional radio operation coalition in Oregon. They do public safety. And the third person I talked to, and these are all public safety emergency systems that they built, went from analog to digital, just like us, same scale, same general number of towers. FYI, our radio project is actually pretty small compared to the world. But yeah, and then also Columbia County, Washington.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Deborah. Really informative.
You're welcome.
Oh, hang on a second. Do we have to vote on this?
Yes. Yes, please.
Okay. Apologies.
Do you want me to bring the recommendation? Oh,
The general manager's recommendation.
Hang on a second.
Do we have any public comment?
We do not have any.
No. Okay, fine. Go ahead, Director.
I
Seaver.
will move the general manager's recommendation on this item.
Director Gleason,
Yes.
Director Christine Tucker.
Yes.
Director Riffle,
Yes.
President McNiven,
Yes.
Director Holman.
Yes.
Director Kishimoto, Director Seer.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 7-0.
thank you,
Now I can
guys.
Thank you. Okay, board business item 7 is the staging, parking area and trailhead design guidelines.
Okay. Good evening, Chairman Niven and board members. I'm Susanna Chen, Assistant General Manager, and I will present the staging, parking area, and trailhead design guidelines to you tonight. Joining me is our consultant, Jessie Moran. She's joining us online. She will help me answer any questions you may have. The general manager's recommendation is to review and approve the proposed staging and parking area and trailhead design guidelines. We brought the draft parking area design guideline to you in May. You have the opportunity to review and provide comments. And we have adjusted your comments, and we're bringing the document back for your final approval. And I will start with giving you some really high-level brief background. As you know really well, the district's multifaceted missions includes providing ecologically public access and staging parking areas and trailheads are key components of public access to district preserve. They serve as a gateways to our preserve. They also provide a transition zone into the natural and rural environments with thoughtful and purposeful design. They offer the opportunity to highlight the district's mission and value while meeting the technical, the regulatory requirements for parking. So the board expressed interest in developing a set of guidelines to guide the development of staging and parking area and trailhead projects to make sure that we incorporate the aesthetic characters and the design elements that reflects the district's values and missions. In response to the board's request, we hire CSW ST2, which is a multidisciplinary engineering and landscape architect firms to help us with developing the design guidelines. And we started that work in early of this year. And in March of this year, the board had the opportunity to provide early feedback on some key elements of the design guideline documents. You reviewed the value statement, the list of typologies, which is the type of landscape that will be incorporated into the document. And you also reviewed a list of design elements. With your early feedback, we continue to develop the document, and we brought the draft document for your review in May. And I just want to talk a little bit more about the design guideline documents. It provides a framework for ensuring appropriate open space and natural and rural aesthetic characters and design elements are integrated into our staging and parking areas. It is not a standalone document. The design guidelines center on the district's two mission statements. They align with and complement the district's existing policy and guidelines that guides public access projects. The district's existing process for planning and developing parking area project stayed the same, and the district's priority to protect natural resources stayed the same with the development of this set of guidelines. This set of guidelines provides a very specific guidance on just one area. The area is aesthetic treatment of our parking area. There was some confusions about how this guideline document fits into the district's overall policy framework. And I just wanted to make it really clear that this documents that we are creating are in alignment with all the existing policy. It's just supporting and providing more specific guidance on one particular area. This set of documents provides guidance throughout the life of the projects, and they offer a shared understanding of the district's expectations on our staging parking area projects. They also serve as a tool for the board to use in evaluating and approving staging parking area conceptual plans. It is a living document. We anticipate there will be some future update to the document as this set of guidelines are tested against different type of projects, different size, different budgets, and different constraints. But I just want to assure the board that any future potential changes that challenges the value, the approach, or the design elements that you approve, we will definitely bring those proposed changes back to you for your final approval. As for what's in the design guideline document, the 3 key components. The first one is the values. Value expresses the district's values in relation to staging and parking areas, meeting together the ecologically and biologically sensitive public access with the functional requirements. The second component is the approach, the design approach, that describes the design approach that respects and complements the district's land's physical, visual, and cultural integrity. And the last the last components of the document is a set of guidelines for the design elements. And they provide specific guidance on those design elements, making sure our visitors have a consistent experience across all preserves. And as I mentioned, we brought the draft document to you on May 8th, and you have the opportunity to provide comments. And your key comments include that you wanted us to add the cost references to existing district policy guidelines related to staging and parking area design. Again, just to make it clear that this new document is not a standalone document. It works in conjunction with all the existing documents. And you asked us to add a specific design element for bicycle parking. And you wanted us to look at addressing some inconsistency identified in the document, and also consider the name of this document. It was called Parking Area Design Guideline, and you want us to think about maybe a better name that is less auto-centric and better reflect our value and our missions. So we got some very good comments from you at that meeting. At that meeting, we also received a couple public comments, written comments. And after the meeting, we also received additional comments from Director Holman. So staff and our consultant team have thoroughly considered all the comments that we received, and we incorporated them as appropriate. And the key changes in the document, in the new document or updated documents includes, we now change the title to Staging, Parking Area, and Trailhead Design Guidelines. We added citation for existing district policy guidelines that we reference in this document. And we provided new sections in the document to describe the public access planning process, which is our existing process, but we just memorialized that process in this document. And we add the language to clarify how the design guidelines fit into the overall process. We added a design element for bicycle parking. Our consultant put in a lot of efforts to update the graphic to be more legible. We cleaned up some inconsistency, and we also incorporated the suggested edits as appropriate. And you have the updated document as part of your packet. And that brings me back to the general manager's recommendation is to review the new the updated document and approve this design guidelines. That's what I have.
Thank you, Susanna.
Mhm.
Are there any questions? Director Riffle.
We received quite a few comments from the equestrian community, and I guess being an equestrian, I understand the concerns, but I wondered if staff wanted to comment.
Sure. So first of all, I want to say this comments related to asphalt,
Right,
right?
right.
And I wanted to say that asphalt has been surface paving material
Right.
for a very long time. And generally speaking, asphalt is not considered a toxic material. It's not soluble in water, and typically it doesn't leach chemical in the soil. And the district has used asphalt as a parking area material for several of our parking area. And those projects require permits from regulatory agencies that are responsible for protecting natural resources and our environment. And we have never received comments related to the use of that type of material. So I just wanted to comment that, but having said all that, I understand most of the comments are really related to equestrian use. And I wanted to point out that this is a guiding document. It provides a general guidance on the design, right? And one of the elements in the document is about equestrian parking. And on page 20, the document on page 20 and one of the last bullets, and we have a statement in the current document says that under equestrian parking, it states that we should consider equine friendly servicing materials for parking and trail route. So that is already in our document, providing guidance for future parking area design when we are designing parking area that designated for equestrian use. So we should consider the material that more friendly for equestrian use. And I also wanted to point out, even though this document is still in draft form and being developed and waiting for your final approval, and some of the guidance, it's already being applied to the projects that we're working on. And I just want to, if you recall, just recently, we bought the La Honda Creek parking area project for your considerations. And that project includes multiple parking area. And one particular area is anticipated to accommodate equestrian parking, which is a Sierra Ranch area. And for that particular area, we are proposing to use gravel instead of asphalt. So I just wanted to, this is kind of showcase how those kind of principles are being used as we designing and for future parking area.
Okay, good. All right, I'm satisfied with your answer. Thank you.
Director Gleason.
Yeah, first, I like the document, and it's clear you did a lot of work, the staff and the consultant, to take attention to the feedback from the board and the public and so forth. So I really appreciate that. I just wanted to follow up on the last point. Did we have the similar discussion about the Bear Creek North parking? I feel like I remember that coming up there as well.
Yeah, that is also being considered because there's a equestrian parking there, and that the surface material is also being considered instead of asphalt and maybe some other material. But obviously, all those are just in our conceptual phase, and all those is going to be vetted through the detailed design, right? So, but yes, it's definitely being considered.
Okay, thank you.
Director Holman.
Yes, thank you very much. And Thank you so much for all the revisions, and I think it's a much improved document. And I have a question about what was just stated about the equestrian. So it's a question, it's a comment that I have, question comment that I have, applying to some other things too. There are occasions where it seems like this document is responding to other documents as opposed to this document guiding other documents. So using that as a premise, where is the information that I didn't find in here? Where's the information that you indicate about consideration for using gravel instead of asphalt for equestrian areas? Is that in here and I just overlooked it? Or is it in another document?
So the statement that I quoted, it's in this document. It's on page 20.
Okay,
Yeah, so it's under the elements that talks about equestrian parking.
It's the last bullet on page.
got it.
Last
Okay.
bullet, yes.
All right, very good. Thank you for that. I totally overlooked it. And then I have not many, but just let's look at my notes here. On page 3, I think this is an important point. Mid-Penn public access planning process on the third line down. Provision of public access to open space lands for low intensity recreational uses. Our mission statement says ecologically sensitive. So I was thinking that low intensity and ecologically sensitive are not necessarily redundant. Should we not add that?
I'm sorry,
Third line down under Mid-Penn public access planning process.
oh, okay.
It's talking about public access and it says lands for low intensity recreational uses, but it seems we ought to include the ecologically sensitive.
Okay, so you want to replace that low intensity with ecologically sensitive?
But no, just in addition to low intensity and ecologically sensitive. Because it's consistent with our mission.
Sure,
If we
yeah.
could do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right, terrific. And so on the next page, this is one of the references that I was making about under using the guidelines. Are the other documents, I don't think, the other documents are subject to board review. And the reason that I go there also is because this says Mid-Penn staging parking area and trailhead design guidelines are in alignment with and complement existing Mid-Penn policies and guidelines that guide public access projects. Again, it makes it, as I read it, it makes it sound like this document is responding to the other documents as opposed to this document guiding the other documents, guiding the development of the other documents.
I think what this statement is referring to is that this document is in alignment with other existing board-approved policies and guidelines. For example, this document is consistent with our basic policy, which provides an overarching policy guidance on everything we do. And this document is consistent with that and in alignment with that. So this document is not providing guidance on the basic policy, or nor this document is not providing guidance on our resource management policy, but this document is consistent with those existing policies. That is what this statement is trying to convey.
And maybe I'm lumping them together because I way towards the back, like there's reference to, for instance, the signage manual, for instance. And I'm just wanting to make sure that this document is guiding those manuals, not policies, but this document is guiding the other manuals and implementation policies, as opposed to them guiding this or this being respondent to those.
So the district's sign menu is an existing document and it's being used. It's not a policy document. It's a administrative level document, but it's being used. It's guiding our day-to-day work. And this document reference to the sign menu and it's also consistent with the existing sign menu. There's no conflict between the two documents, what we're creating right now versus the existing sign menu.
Okay, and having to do with that, I'm trying to go to the right page here. Thank you for that. And I think it's page 35. Let me get there. Yeah, okay, page 35 under signage. And signage is one of the primary things that got me to start, you know, focusing on this. Midpen signage program includes a sign manual and sign committee overseeing signage implementation. The sign committee is comprised of field representatives, blah, 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 blah. Visitor services, interpretation, education, blah, 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 blah. And then, but all it has here in terms of guidance, as I see it, all I see here for guidance in terms of revising, updating, whatever, a sign manual is 2 bullet points here. And it says, consider the following guidelines. Use a minimalist approach and about sign frames. And for me, again, because signage is one of the primary things that got me focused on this, is I would hope there would be more bullet points to say like avoid reflective signs and signs, you know, above a certain height and consider viewscapes and, you know, some things like that here that would guide the sign manual, which is an administrative document. Does that make sense?
So certain things that you mentioned, it's something that like a kind of regulatory requirement. And some of them is a practical necessity that we have to have. For example, the reflectivity of a sign. We need that for our regulatory sign because we need to be able to enforce those regulations at night. So certain signs, we have to have that. So, and then there's a certain requirements on the type of sign, like our ADA regulatory signs. So those are standards and we have to follow. And those are reflected in our sign menu. But there's certain elements related to signage that is not specified in the standards. That's something that we can consider. For example, if the signpost is not specifically required or specified in the sign standard, and that's something that we as a district or when we consider sign installation, that we can apply some of the value, the approach, and that is in this document. So those are something we can do. So for example, we can look at using more of the wood sign versus metal sign. So that is something that we can do. And then I think the first, I think there's some guidance here related to the elements that are not specifically required in the sign standard that required by, you know, the state law. And then another element related to sign, it's distance. I know you have some concerns about one particular implementation that we have a row or sign that's too many. And that is also not something specifically specified in the sign standards. So it really depends on the implementations, depends on the orientation of the sign, and depends on a lot of signage. It depends on if the sign is on the road, depends on the speed of the speed limit of the street. So that is not specified. So for us, the district has a little bit of flexibility on, you know, the spacing of the sign. So as we consider sign installation, we can look at minimize the number of signs. So those are something that we can consider, and that is kind of, I think it reflects a little bit here as well. And if there's other areas that we identify in the futures that can address some of your concern that is not required by standards, and we can definitely consider and include and update the document.
And that you gave some very good examples. Yeah, and sign height too is, so, but I would like to see, I think you've done a really good job with this, and I'm so much happier with this. I'm very happy with this document. But this is one area, again, so it was like, it was the genesis of the whole consideration. I would really like to see some of the things that you're talking about incorporated here so that they guide the sign manual. Like frequency of signs, for instance, and height, sign height, and that sort of thing. So I don't think these 2 bullets here accomplish that. But
Yeah.
I'll stop there, but I think you get the point. And
Okay.
yeah, because I don't see this language here affecting improved signage at our parking areas or otherwise, but certainly in our parking areas. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Holman. Any more questions?
Oh, I do apologize. I had one more. So EV parking. Has there been any conversation with any of the county supervisors, for instance, San Mateo County? Because if EV parking is required in all parking lots, I mean, no matter the size or anything, it seems like there ought to be some lobbying going on because they're not going to be inexpensive to put on, especially in remote parking lots. So there wasn't any indication that there's any latitude here.
To answer your first part of the question, we have not had that kind of conversation with the county supervisor. We, as far as we know, the San Mateo County requires EV charging stations because it is one of their general plan goal. But at the last meeting, there was a discussions about EV charging stations or implementation of the transportation demand management strategies. And I think there's the feedback that we got from the board is that we actually want to consider that, even though it may not be an immediate implementation, but we wanted to be able to anticipate that as we consider parking area projects, and we want to at least provide, at least consider that and allow for that and provide the infrastructure that will allow that kind of implementation in the future. So that is reflected in the document.
I was thinking there was different opinions about that, but
yeah,
especially having to do with the expense, but aesthetics as well. Thank you.
No more questions. Is what I'm checking. Is there any public comment?
We do not have any.
Yeah. Further deliberation? Yeah. Go for it.
So first of all, thank you, Susanna, for you and the consultants for, I think, capturing, I think what the direction, I think you did a good job of capturing what we had in mind. I appreciate Director Holman putting the extra effort into getting her thoughts and so on into this. But what I guess I appreciate about this document is it sets guidelines. It doesn't set specifics. And to me, which I think was the intent of this. And what I'm always concerned about documents like this, that we tend to get too specific in certain areas, that rather that's up to a specific, for example, signage. That's really up to the sign responsibility. So that would be the only thing that I would be a little concerned about, of getting too specific in certain areas here, but rather set guidelines, because that's what this is for. So to me, I'm happy with what it is that we reviewed. So I just want to let you know. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for all that work. Do you have a comment? Yeah, go for it.
Well, I also wanted to thank you for your very thoughtful incorporation of all the comments. I mean, I thought that it looks very, very nice and put together. I mean, yes, this last conversation, I mean, I do understand, that there's, you know, there's that ambiguity of which guideline guides which, you know, or
Mhm.
which trumps which in a way.
Mhm.
But I think, you know, I think tonight, you know, we should, I mean, I would support moving forward with what we have tonight. And you said it's a living document, and if the, yeah, if there's something that comes back to us as something that's not keeps appearing that seems inappropriate, then I'm sure we can raise it again. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Director Gleason.
Yeah, again, I like the document. And I thank you for all the work that's been done on that. I think I've maybe made similar comment before, but there are some principles in here that I think are really good in general for the open space, and to the extent possible when we're thinking about things like trails and roads. And I think it would be great to keep in mind some of the same ideas, you know, the design elements reflect and complement surrounding environment, complementing native landscape color and texture by using native materials where possible. Where it's not possible, then use complementary imported materials. And this idea of balancing durability and maintenance considerations against the design principles. I think those are all good things to keep in mind in general in the open space. So not proposing anything specific, but I just like to keep that thought out there. Thank you.
Director Seer.
Director, just to echo the compliments. Fantastic job, incredibly thorough, I thought. So.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to share with this little bit of a lingering question that does remain in my head about you. So you began by answering the question about the asphalt and I guess what else is there? The chip seal and such, and obviously there are a lot of petrochemicals which are originally come from the earth at some point, but you know, it's just I mean, do you think that we know enough about their cumulative impact, or is it something that, you know, we'll continue to learn more about? I mean, I know it's you know, probably on a cumulative basis overall, it's not gonna you know, have a huge impact on our creeks, or you know, they're probably far enough away from the creeks too, but.
Right. So I'm going to refer back to that we use this type of material on our projects that require regulatory permits. And those agencies, they are charged with protecting the natural environment, protecting natural resources. And there's issues that rise to the level that they wanted to bring it to our attention, it will come up there. So again, this is kind of where we at right now, and then we definitely will continue to monitor that. If there's new regulations that require us to reconsider the application of this material, we definitely would, you know, follow those guidance. Yeah.
Or even, you know, I know sometimes we can try to be not just meet the regulation, but you know, to take the lead in thinking about the environment. So, you know, we'll continue to think about that.
Definitely.
Thank you. I had just one thought. Oh,
yes.
Just to add my thanks. And as I was reading this document, I was really impressed with the way you have balanced not being prescriptive, but providing guidelines in a way that I think is very representative of the district and how we handle these staging areas and parking areas. So I can only imagine how challenging it must be to create a document like this that kind of walks that fine line. So thank you. Thanks.
Did you have one more comment?
I haven't had any comments. I'm just going to be questions.
Oh, yeah.
So I do want to thank you very, very much for this document. I do view it as greatly improved, and appreciate that. The one area that I questioned was about signage. I wish it had provided more guidance, and I'll leave that where it is. But that's how I feel about that. But there is one edit that I would like on page 3, just so it's consistent with our mission.
Yes.
And that is, as I mentioned earlier, provision of line 3 under the Mid-Penn Public Access Planning Process, again, page 3, third line down. Provision of public access to open space lands for low intensity and ecologically sensitive
Yes, we can.
recreation uses.
Yeah.
That edit.
We will add that.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Yeah. Good job. Yeah, okay. well,
And with that, I'd like to move approval of this document with that one change.
And I'll second.
Perfect. We'll take a vote.
Director Gleason,
Yes.
Director Christine Tucker,
Yes.
Director Riffle,
Yes.
President McNiven,
Yes.
Director Holman.
Yes.
Director Kishimoto. Director Seer.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Susanna. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As I say, I pass 3 parking lots every day. They're not bad. They'll certainly 4 a day. Very nice. All right, we can move on to committee reports. Were there any committee meetings these last 2 weeks? No. Okay, great. So we'll move on to staff. Are there any staff reports?
Okay, just a few things. This is Ana Ruiz, General Manager. We're going through our various rounds of tours with prospective candidates for different seats. One of the latest ones was with Tara Sri Krishnan, who is looking at Assembly Member Low seat, and took her out to Fremont Older, and Director Gleason was there too. Had a very nice outing with her. She had actually a lot of connections with Mid-Penn in different ways, and possibilities there for some partnerships with the organizations that she's worked with as well. So that was nice to see. Also, let's see, today I was happy to go out to Cherry Springs Pond area where our Land and Facilities Department was holding their, I think it's annual retreat with the entire department, which is close to 60 plus people. The theme of the day was change, because there's a lot of change happening. And as you know, that department is actually going to split into land stewardship, something like that, and central services. A very good facilitator was there to talk about change, talk about the opportunities that exist, some of the struggles that come up, the importance of communication. It was a very good, a lot of great discussion, a lot of optimism, and a lot of reinforcement of what to look forward to in the future. And I think I'll leave it at that.
Can I ask you where Cherry?
Oh, that's
Right.
the Rancho de Guadalupe area of Sierra Azul, which is near Pheasant and Hicks Road. Down at the
I don't know that
far
area.
reaches, yeah.
All right, we'll move on to director.
I have one.
Let's start with Director Seer.
Thank you. I attended the Santa Clara Valley Water Commission meeting today. And even though we didn't have quite enough members for a quorum, we did receive the kind of summary of the reports that they were going to present. So it was a very interesting meeting.
Wow, great.
The one key thing came up, there was a discussion of the push for more housing. But nobody says where we're going to get the water. And it's, so they're looking at increased storage, a variety of things that are going to impact both the water itself and the cost of it and where the costs are going to fall. So, thank you.
Director Riffle.
Okay, just a couple quick things. So continuing to work on the Bear Creek Stables ad hoc. So the Funding and Partnership Working Group. We've had a couple meetings. We also had the opportunity to tour Bear Creek Stables, and I just wanted to shout out to Brandon and to Jay. They did a fantastic job. I think really elevated the knowledge and appreciation from the members of the working group that were there. Also, I attended the docent naturalist graduation on the 18th, and that was really a nice event. We had 23 new graduates there, and mention of a docent naturalist that has had 45 years of experience of working with us. So it's a really nice group of people that really add a lot of value. It's a nice event.
I attended also. It was lovely.
Director Kirsten.
Thank you. Yes, I too attended the docent naturalist event, and it's always like one of the high points of the year. Really so inspiring. Indeed. And I just wanted to give a gigantic thanks to both Maria and Shaylin for helping with all the nomination papers and all the re-upping for this November election. They made it so easy. So thank you.
So we've also continued meeting weekly with our Bear Creek Stables Operations and Programming Working Group. And tomorrow we have a meeting with Susanna and staff to introduce the group and discuss some of our direction there. And we're also looking to prepare for the August 6th meeting of the full ad hoc. And then I wanted to thank Brian for taking me out on a field trip and visiting some of the places in the trail system where we talked about different surfaces and some of the issues that came up from the public. And we were able to visit a number of places. We had a really good discussion. He explained a lot of the challenges that they deal with and talked about some different ideas there. I attended 2 of the candidate tours, both at Fremont Older and also the docent graduation. That was very good, and I really appreciated Zoe's comments there. So thought that was very nice. Got to meet a lot of the graduating docents.
Director Holman.
Speaking up for the other, the third ad hoc Bear Creek Stables group. I'm so impressed with the people who've come forward and their expertise and their willingness to actually roll up their sleeves and work. We meet weekly, and because we set up subcommittees even more than weekly. One member of my group is here, Melanie. Thank you very much. It's an impressive group of people, and the knowledge that comes forth is just terrific. And we had our first meeting with staff on a week ago, Monday, the 15th. We had a site visit with Omar, Brandon, and Jay. And it was just a really good exchange. I think very productive meeting, a lot of thoughtful comments and ideas. And I really want to thank Susanna, because the tone you've set for this process is really outstanding. It's great leadership. I really appreciate it. I think that's it. Just gratitude to both the members of the ad hoc and to staff for their openness.
Anyone else? Well, for my part, I attended the 100th anniversary of the San Mateo County Parks at Memorial Park down by Loma Mar. It was really a lovely day and a lovely event. And Anna was there. And then the docent meeting at the docent celebration at Piketty, I also attended that. Oh, yes.
It's actually something that's coming up, but you know, there's a Rising Together, the Bay Adapt Summit that's coming up on August 8th. If people are interested, I think it's aimed possibly more at the cities, but you know, including open space as well. So if anybody's interested, I can forward that email.
All right. Is that it? I think so. Well, thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned. It's 8:31.